MMO shooter The Day Before is being worked on by unpaid volunteers. Call of Duty's Escape from Tarkov mode leaked, Elden Ring's developer is almost done with their next game, and much more on Today in Gaming. Hey guys, LevelCap here. An upcoming third-person zombie survival MMO The Day Before recently announced development has switched from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. Unfortunately, that switch means the game will be delayed until March of next year. But it sounds like the developers, Fantastic, are trying to cut corners to get there. Their website has a new volunteer section, which is essentially their job listing page. And while they offer salaries to full-time volunteers, part-time volunteers get paid in cool rewards, participation certificates, and free codes. The work that these folks will do includes translating the games and community moderation. And while it's true that platforms like Steam offer community translations developed by people in their free time, these are generally paid positions in the game development industry. It's not really clear how big of a role these unpaid volunteers will have in the days before development. They don't list any specific positions or tasks on their website right now. You'll have to contact them directly to find out what's on offer, and their full-time volunteer position page doesn't have any listings either. Now, as for why any of this actually matters, well, there's a growing concern that the game will massively undeliver when it launches. Their other titles like Prop Night or Dead Dozen just aren't anywhere near as ambitious as this game. User reviews for those games are rife with complaints about significant bugs, balance issues, server problems, and more. So naturally, there's a lot of concerns about the game if the studio is now relying heavily on volunteers, they don't have a good track record of launching polished games, and this is their most ambitious game ever. This concern is shared by industry veterans like former Battlefield lead designer David Goldfarb. On Twitter, he said the engine switch and volunteer situation sounds inefficient and called their timeline unrealistic for a game of that scope. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about The Day Before. Have you been following it? Does it seem like an interesting shooter experience? And does this news tamper your expectations for the title? Call of Duty's rumored Escape from Tarkov mode, DMZ, might launch next year as a separate free-to-play experience. They describe the mode as its own open-world title with a storyline that follows Modern Warfare 2's. It'll feature characters, missions, and PvP/PvE combat scenarios. A recent job listing on Infinity Ward's website called for developers to work on an open-world RPG. And since Infinity Ward have never worked on anything other than a Call of Duty game, the listing was likely for this DMZ mode. Assuming these rumors are accurate, DMZ may try to be the premier Call of Duty experience over Warzone 2. Either that or both titles will receive the same level of support and integration with other Call of Duty titles and content. The leaks place DMZ's reveal in August, so it won't be long before we potentially have some concrete details. The annual Summer Games Done Quick charity event is live. Proceeds from the event go to Doctors Without Borders. It'll run until Sunday with dozens of games and runners competing to beat world records. You can find the event over on Twitch. The 1997 point-and-click adventure game Blade Runner just got an enhanced edition and fans are deeply disappointed. Night Dive Studios handled the project, and by the looks of it, calling it enhanced would be a bit of a stretch. They upscaled the game's original assets, but their method blurs the original textures to the point of being unrecognizable in certain scenes. Several atmospheric elements like fog, steam, rain, and background lighting aren't applied to the 3D character models either, making them look extremely out of place. Night Dive also used frame interpolation to make pre-rendered assets like cutscenes and backgrounds run at 60 FPS. And while that might sound cool on paper, reinterpolating original animation or even film footage usually ruins the original look or feel of a piece of work. In a nutshell, the Enhanced Edition replaces the game's original look and feel with blurry textures, broken lighting, and bizarre animations. The ultimate rub, however, is that the Enhanced Edition replaces the existing Scum VM version of the game on GOG.com. That version is a complete reverse engineering project done over the course of 8 years to make the game playable on modern PCs. Unfortunately, Blade Runner source code is lost, so any faithful remake or remaster would have to be remade from the ground up. The Scum VM version fixes dozens of bugs and gameplay issues, and while there's nothing it can do about the game's original low-resolution assets, it is considered to be the best way to play the original game since it launched in 2019. Now, in case you're wondering, well, why does anyone really care that much about a shoddy remaster of a game from 25 years ago? Well, Blade Runner was a landmark title. Its 3D character rendering, mature story, and brilliantly executed artwork were groundbreaking back in 1997. For example, all of the characters in the game are based on motion captured actors. And back then, even having 1,000 motion captured sequences would have been cutting edge, and Blade Runner has 20,000 of them. Night Dive Studios has acknowledged the Enhanced Edition's shortcomings and updated it to include the Scum VM version. They're promising to release further updates that improve the game as well. Now, Blade Runner isn't the only Enhanced Edition drawing criticism. Sonic Origins is a compilation of the Sonic the Hedgehog games, with Sonic 1, the Sega CD release of Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic CD, and Sonic 3. All the included titles have been rebuilt with new features and a widescreen presentation mode. However, Origins has several bugs that weren't in the original games. It replaces Sonic 3's iconic soundtrack and locks additional content behind a paywall. Interestingly, one of the game's developers took to Twitter to explain the state of the game in a series of tweets detailing how Sega and their studio, which are separate companies, handled the project. They say the project was a victim of a major time crunch, with the devs working themselves into the ground just to meet the deadline. They asked Sega repeatedly to let them fix major bugs and for more development time, but were denied. They were only contracted to develop the launch build of the game, not provide post-launch support like bug fixes and content updates. Despite them offering to do post-launch support, it's unclear if they'll be brought back to fix the game's issues. They concluded the thread by saying that the studio cares about their work in the Sonic franchise. They didn't speak out sooner because it would have been unprofessional and could have damaged the studio's relationship with Sega. Valorant's in-game voice comms will start being monitored for disruptive voice behavior next month. This system's initial rollout will be purely for training their language model. That means it won't be used for disciplinary action until later in the year. The system doesn't run in real time for every match. Instead, it lets their enforcement team record and analyze in-game voice communication when a report is submitted. Riot says they won't expand the tool until they're confident in the accuracy and effectiveness. That said, well, what is your take on this sort of thing? Issuing bans based on toxic in-game text chat is nothing new, but using audio recordings is certainly a step into a pretty gray territory. It seems like there's plenty of opportunities to abuse this system, steal people's personal information, and more. Let us know what you think in the comments. Dark Souls and Elden Ring developer From Software already has their next game mostly finished. They say it's in the final stages of development. The studio has been working on 3 major titles since at least 2018. 2 of them, Sekiro and Elden Ring, have launched already. Rumors suggest the 3rd game might be a new entry in From's Armored Core mech combat series. Ubisoft's long-awaited pirate RPG Skull and Bones just got raided by the ESRB. The game was initially scheduled to launch in 2018, but has been delayed and presumably entirely reworked multiple times. It features naval combat based on 2013's Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Ubisoft recently announced it was rescheduled to launch in their 2022-2023 fiscal year, which ends in March of next year. Rumors suggest that the game will be showcased on July 4th as part of a release date reveal. Before we get to today's final story, don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support the channel and make sure that you don't miss any future news. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is finally getting a proper urban map. Destin launches on July 13th and has a massive city center as a key location. The teaser trailer doesn't reveal a ton of info about the map, however, a follow-up video highlighting the map's environmental details gives us a closer look. The map is partially flooded and features natural spaces surrounding the city. The city looks more or less abandoned and features zip lines running up some buildings. Those buildings aren't the usual empty concrete structures that we've seen in PUBG before. They're proper glass and metal skyscrapers. Obviously, it's tough to say if the map will be any good or not without playing it, but it's very exciting to see such a modern-looking urban center finally coming to the game. And that wraps it up for today in gaming. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought was the most interesting story, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.